According to House records, the MPs for Dom Kwabenya, Sarah Adwoa-Safo, Ayawaso Central MP Henry Quartey, and Asin Central MP Kennedy Ajapong have absented themselves for more than 15 consecutive sitting days without permission, in breach of Article 97. MPs' absenteeism has always been a challenge for Parliament. However, with close numbers for both the majority and minority side, absenteeism took a center stage. Most criticized was the Dom Kwabenya MP, with calls made for her seat to be declared vacant. Subsequently, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, MP for North Tongu, insisted that all absentee MPs be held to account, not just Sarah Adwoa-Safo. Petitions were filed to the Speaker about absentee MPs, prompting the Speaker to look into the claims. On Tuesday, April 5, Speaker Bagbin came to a decision.
As is my understanding of the provisions of Article 97(1)(c) and Order 16(1) of the Standing Orders of Parliament, and the decision of the Court of Appeal in the case of Professor Stephen Kweku Asare and the Attorney General and 3 others, I hereby refer the said honorable members to the Committee of Privileges for consideration and report to the House.
But the decision was questioned by Muntaka Mubarak, Minority Chief Whip, who took on the Speaker.
76(1). Every application to Parliament shall, and I think the word there is shall, be in the form of a petition. And every petition must be presented by a member of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I heard you said, you yourself alluded to the fact that members of Parliament could raise matter that could be referred to privileges, and civil society could equally do same. Mr. Speaker, with the greatest of respect to your office, I disagree with you vehemently when you, Mr. Speaker, want to do that yourself. Because it has to be a member of Parliament who has to do that according to our rules. Mr. Speaker,
honorable member, read the standing order again.
Mr. Speaker, we'll be careful to listen.
Read the standing order again.
Mr. Speaker, it will be good to listen to me. When I'm done, you have the privilege to make your
Minority Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, you have to first
read the standing orders again.
Mr. Speaker, I have read what I want to read, and I've stopped where I want to stop.
Honorable member,
you listen to me, and when you hear me,
will you resume your
seat? You have to hear me first.
He served notice. The Speaker's decision will be challenged by a substantive motion.
After the ruling and the decision to be taken, Mr. Speaker, is absolutely yours. Under the 1992 Constitution, however, it is the High Court which can declare a member of Parliament seats as vacant, without providing any reasons or legal basis for the assertion. If we allow speakers to take petition from outsiders, and so motu with petition from outsiders to refer members of Parliament to privileges, colleagues, will be doing ourselves the greatest disservice. Because we will one day get a dictator speaker who will simply take statements from outsiders and begin to penalize individual members of Parliament. It is on that basis that I stand to say, Mr. Speaker, I want to come properly under Order 93.5 to say this is your decision to refer our colleagues to the privileges will be challenged with a substantive motion.
But Speaker Bagbin rejected Muntaka Mubarak's argument. In spite of the debate, the indicted MPs will face the Privileges Committee. Failure to convince the Joe Osei-Wusu-led committee will mean the House will automatically vote to decide their fate. In a formal communication to the House, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin directed the Privileges Committee to present its report 15 days after the House resumes from its Easter recess.
So, you see, Muntaka's, that's his position, or the Speaker, whether or not he has that power to commence that action against the 3 absentee MPs. Now, this has been referred to the Privileges Committee of Parliament. and this position by the Honorable Muntaka Mubarak that he's going to file a counter motion for it. But just for the benefit of our viewers to follow closely exactly what happens when members of parliament are referred to the Privileges Committee. This is how the Privileges Committee works. It consists of the first deputy speaker as the chairperson and not more than 30 other members of parliament. It actually inquires into any complaint of contempt of parliament or any matter of privilege which may be referred to it. And that's what the speaker has done. As to whether the Honorable Muntaka Mubarak's position that the speaker does not have the right to do so, you understand why the speaker referred to Professor Kwaku Asare versus the Attorney General and 3 others, that particular case, before he pronounced that particular ruling. The details of that case then qualifies the speaker's position as to whether he can do that by himself or not. The third is none of the 3 MPs is a member of this particular committee we are talking about. Adwoa Safo, Kennedy Japan, and also Henry Quartey. These 3 who have been referred to the Privileges Committee, they are not members of the committee. Now, Article 97(1)(c) of the 1992 Constitution state, and I quote, a member of parliament shall, the emphasis is on the operative word shall, vacate his seat in parliament if he is absent without the permission in writing of the speaker, and he is unable, in this case, he or she is unable to offer a reasonable explanation to the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges for 15 sitting days of a meeting of Parliament during any period that Parliament has been summoned to meet and continues to meet. So that operative word shall vacate clearly defines exactly what this constitutional provision seeks to do. I've been joined on the telephone by Benefsin. He is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. He's a political analyst. Good evening to you, Mr. Benefsin. Now, this particular call started with Sarah Adwoa Safo. We're seeing the 2 other members of parliament, Kennedy Japan and Henry Quartey, now added to it. I found out your reaction to this particular action by the speaker earlier today.
Good evening, Alfred. Good evening to our viewers. I think that Muntaka, the minority chief whip, has a point. And I suspect that even before the Privileges Committee gets into the nitty-gritty of the speaker's references to the Privileges Committee, I believe that Muntaka's point may have to be settled in the Supreme Court to interpret it. That does not lie in the mouth of the speaker to refer them to the Privileges Committee.
But then again, the speaker relied on that particular case of Professor Kwaku Asare versus the Attorney General and 3 others before actually making that pronouncement and initiating that action against these 3 absentee MPs. The details of that case we may not be able to get into, but there's a specific reason why he relied on that, in addition to this particular constitutional provision of 97(1)(c). Zevson.
Well, the joy of democracy is that the Supreme Court will have to interpret whether the case under reference, the ruling it gives, the judgment, fits all fours with Muntaka's objection. That is the joy of democracy. The Supreme Court will have to interpret it. But be it as it may, granted that, they take it to the Privileges Committee, I think that they will need to test, I believe, to really strip the 3 off their teeth and for by-election to be held. Mind you, Muntaka is from the minority, and I'm sure that if it's a ticket vote, they are not going to get the 2/3. That they will need to remove these 3 MPs for by-election to be held. The same way Babin got elected through secret ballot, I believe that the secret ballot, it will be difficult for 2/3 to agree that these 3 MPs should lose their seats.
This call started with Sarah Adwoa-Safo because of her absence in Parliament. And I recall you personally also backed the decision to drag her to the Privileges Committee. And it's about the numbers game now. We have Kennedy Japan now and Henry Korte added to it. Obviously, politically, the NPP was backing the Adwoa-Safo call for the Privileges Committee. Do you see them backing the same two others as well?
Well, if once that is settled, I had backed the call that Adwoa-Safo has stayed without permission. And if the Speaker has referred first the Privileges Committee, if maybe it's not taken to court, will have to determine whether these three were, the other two, Kennedy Japan and Henry Korte, are in the same boat as Adwoa-Safo, that is, absenting themselves for a certain number of 15 days without authority. Then the three of them must make the Privileges Committee.
Ms. Absent, I thank you for your time this evening.